From KMOV, News 4 is covering breaking news.
Good evening. Within the last 30 minutes, Governor Eric Greitens confirmed to News 4 that he did have an extramarital affair.
A News 4 investigation prompted this bombshell announcement from Governor Greitens and his wife. And in a moment, you will hear from the governor and First Lady. But first, we want to bring in News 4 investigator Lauren Traeger. Lauren, this is a story you've been working on for almost a year.
Yes, it is. News 4 has obtained a recording of a woman allegedly confessing to her then-husband in great detail about a sexual encounter she had with Governor Greitens just months before he announced he was running for governor. News 4 has corroborated a number of the details in the story, but has decided to protect the woman and her husband by concealing their identities. The reason? While the affair is one thing, it's what the woman says Greitens did to keep her quiet that some might find the most disturbing.
I'm Eric Greitens. I'm a Navy SEAL. I'm a businessman. I am a native Missourian, but most importantly, I am a very proud husband and father.
During his campaign and while in office, Governor Greitens has built himself a family man. But acts a woman accuses Greitens of committing on tape, this man says are horrible and disgusting.
I think it's absolutely inhuman and evil. I truly do.
The man provided details to News 4 of a sexual encounter between his now ex-wife and Greitens back in March of 2015. News 4 is choosing not to name the woman. She has not made on-the-record comments for the story. The recording was made just days after Greitens and the woman's first sexual encounter. His wife did not know, as she confessed intimate details to her husband.
Only the truth.
So on Saturday morning, before my first client, I did go to his house.
For the first time.
For the first time. Ever. Like I said, nothing, period, had ever happened or taken place until this snowball tornado just happened. I know I brought it on.
The woman explains that her interactions with Greitens were sometimes initiated by herself. They met because she cut his hair.
I met Eric a year ago and I instantly had a big crush on him.
She says she felt drawn to talk to him, but when he told her, "I want you to come over to his house," she first said no. She wanted to meet for coffee, but Greitens said to her, "No, I can't. I can't be seen with you. This is wrong."
And I said, "I know." So he said, please, just come to my house.
She agreed to go to his house to talk. It's unclear where Greitens' wife or children were at this time. The woman admits that when the sexual encounter began that day, it was wanted.
He said, "I'll make you feel better. I'll make you feel good. Come downstairs. I want to show you how to do a proper pull-up." And I knew that he was being sexual, and I still let him. And he used some sort of tape, I don't know what it was, and taped my hands to these rings, and then put a blindfold on me.
She went on to say, though, that some of his actions scared her.
I don't even know. I feel like I don't even know. I was just numb. I just stood there. I didn't even know.
She then described what Greitens allegedly did next that made her feel sick.
And he stepped back, and I saw a flash through the blindfold. He said, "You're never going to mention my name. Otherwise, his picture will be everywhere."
It's this action that upset her husband at the time.
He took a picture of my wife naked as blackmail. There is no worse person.
And what still upsets him to this day.
I think it's as bad as it gets. I think it's as bad as it gets when somebody takes advantage of somebody.
The woman says she was angry at Greitens for taking a picture of her, though in the conversation she does take on some of the blame for their interactions and says that Greitens apologized after the encounter and told her he had erased the picture. She claims they had at least one more physical interaction later that day. After the tearful confession, the man and his wife tried reconciling, but according to the man, Greitens was still in her life. In October 2015, the woman allegedly sent an email to a Gmail account she told her husband she had previously used to get in touch with Greitens. It said, "Eric, I am asking you to please consider all who are involved and the circumstances around us. I need you to not book at the salon anymore. This isn't fair to me nor anyone close to us. Please respect me and my wishes."
I'm not after anything. I don't want to be part of politics. I don't want to be a part of anything. I just want to move on with my life.
The man says he didn't want to speak out before, but says recently he's been contacted by law enforcement authorities and members of the media. He says he wanted to get in front of a story he believed would come out eventually, and he wants to protect his family.
Something happened and churned all this and had people hounding me further and further and further, even leaving a voicemail on my daughter's phone. When that happened, everything changed.
The man's attorney, Al Watkins, confirms he too has been in contact repeatedly with law enforcement agencies about this.
My knowledge and my experience leads me to believe that at very least there is an elevated degree of interest in what is going on.
Did you provide this recording to them?
Yes.
The man and his wife sought a divorce in March of 2016. By Election Day, November 2016, the man was on social media calling Greitens a, quote, homewrecker.
This didn't just destroy our marriage. This destroyed an entire environment, an entire ecosystem. This destroyed it all.
Now, we have spoken with an attorney representing the woman in this case who says they have no comment right now. Just a short time ago, though, the governor and his wife released a statement, and we want to read it to you in full. A few years ago, before Eric was elected governor, there was a time when he was unfaithful in our marriage. This was a deeply personal mistake. Eric took responsibility, and we dealt with this together, honestly and privately. While we never would have wished for this pain in our marriage or the pain that this has caused others, with God's mercy, Sheena has forgiven and we have emerged stronger. We understand that there will be some people who cannot forgive, but for those who can find it in your heart, Eric asks for your forgiveness, and we are grateful for your love, your compassion, and your prayers. In a separate statement from the First Lady, Sheena Greitens, she said, we have a loving marriage and an awesome family. Anything beyond that is between us and God. We want the media and those who wish to peddle gossip to stay away from me and my children. Most certainly this is a developing situation. A lot of this breaking just within the last hour, really this confirmation from the governor of this extramarital affair, and we will of course continue to cover it.
And again, to be clear, the governor is only admitting to the extramarital affair, none of the allegations that were made by the ex-husband here. Do you get a sense that law enforcement is going to investigate this case?
Well, and I want to touch on that for just a second. We did make repeated inquiries and specific questions as to the allegations regarding that photograph and any of the other actions outside of the extramarital affair, and a representative for the governor declined to comment about those specific allegations and that photograph itself. Governor Lauren Traeger, KMOV, I know you've made some remarks recently, but there's one point we want to clarify. Did you take a picture of the woman in question? At a press conference at the Capitol Monday and in a recorded interview with the AP over the weekend,
did you actually take a photo of her?
The governor has dodged the question, instead repeating the same refrain.
There was no blackmail. There was no violence. There was no photograph for blackmail. There was no threat of using a photograph for blackmail.
Other reporters also noting the governor has not answered if a photograph was ever taken, period.
With all due respect, Governor, you haven't answered the photo question.
Former prosecutor turned defense attorney Christy Flint says that question under the law is critical.
It's very important in an investigation of invasion of privacy to determine whether or not a photograph was taken. Absolutely.
Invasion of privacy, Flint says, is a misdemeanor crime if a picture is taken of someone undressed without their consent. The circuit attorney's office is continuing its investigation. Flint says things the governor says in public could be relevant.
If the governor said, yes, I took a photograph, would that statement be admissible in court?
Absolutely.
From KMOV, News 4 is covering breaking news.
Tonight, Missouri Governor Eric Greitens has been indicted on felony charges. This is his mugshot taken this afternoon at the St. Louis City Justice Center.
And just a short time ago, this car was spotted pulling away from the St. Louis City Justice Center after the governor's lawyer confirmed Governor Greitens has been processed. It's unclear if, in fact, the governor is inside that car, although a lot of attention was focused around it. The governor is now scheduled to appear in court for the charge on March 16th. Late this afternoon, the St. Louis Circuit Attorney announced the charges of invasion of privacy. This all stems from allegations of blackmail broken by News 4 Investigates last month. News 4 has team coverage tonight on all of these developments with our crews at St. Louis City Justice Center and here in our newsroom. We begin with Lauren Traeger at the courthouse tonight.
Well, guys, an important point here. This is a felony charge of invasion of privacy. The Circuit Attorney's Office tells me there is a provision under Missouri law for this to have been a misdemeanor, a lesser crime. They have charged that felony crime. Governor Eric Greitens charged with felony invasion of privacy. As you mentioned, this all stems from allegations we first broke last month. An ex-husband coming forward telling me that his then-wife had an affair with Governor Eric Greitens. But there were additional allegations that the governor took a picture of the woman in a compromising position and threatened her, saying that if she talked about him to anyone, that picture would be everywhere. Now, the governor has repeatedly acknowledged the affair, but has not answered our repeated questions about whether or not he did take a photograph of the woman in question here. The charge is today giving us some new information, saying that there is some aspect of this, some evidence that indicates that the governor made some transmission of the photograph in a way that would be accessible on a computer. That is new information according to those charging documents that we did receive today. Now, just late this afternoon, we did catch up with the governor's attorney, Ed Dowd, as he was leaving the courthouse. We want to go to that now and tell you what he had to say.
In my 40 years of representing the public here and representing personal litigants, I have never seen anything like this in my life. The charges against the governor are baseless and unfounded. Eric is absolutely innocent of these charges, and we'll be filing a motion to dismiss very shortly that will make it clear why this case should be dismissed.
Has the governor... Now, the woman in question here has not made any on-the-record remarks, though I have spoken to her. We do not know officially at this time if she is cooperating with the investigation, though some legal experts say it is indicated that she has likely cooperated if the Circuit Attorney's Office has been able to move forward on these charges as they have. The prosecutor's office telling me tonight the investigation is still ongoing. They are asking for anyone who has additional information to come forward. Certainly something we'll keep following. Live at the courthouse, Lauren Traeger, News 4.
News 4 is also getting reactions to this news involving the governor. Matt Cesny has been reaching out to state lawmakers this afternoon. Matt is live in our newsroom. What are you hearing from them tonight?
Well, Courtney, most say they are very surprised to hear about this news. Others choosing not to comment at all, including the Republican lieutenant governor of Missouri. But many Republicans are saying they want to see the evidence here. They want to know what's behind the indictment. Democrats, on the other hand, not surprisingly, reacting pretty angrily this afternoon. Stephen Weber of the Missouri Democratic chairman went to Twitter within the hour with this, saying everything about Eric Greitens, his dark money, his lies, his scandal, his crimes, has been a stain on Missouri. And through it all, the Missouri Republican establishment has stood by him. Change can't come soon enough. The Democratic Governors Association also calling on Greitens to resign. They released a statement this afternoon saying the charges against Eric Greitens are deeply disturbing and prove he is unfit to hold public office. Following today's indictment, Governor Greitens should step down immediately. The people of Missouri deserve a governor who can focus full-time on the issues affecting the state. The Republican Governors Association should send a clear message that it does not condone Governor Greitens' illegal actions. The RGA should immediately remove Governor Greitens from its executive council. Now, as I mentioned, many Republicans in Missouri are being quiet tonight, or at least speaking anonymously or off the record about this. One state Republican representative from St. Louis, Marcia Hafner, who in the past has called for the governor to step down, went to her Twitter page this afternoon not to make any comment about it, but to simply post the story about the governor's indictment. That's pretty interesting. Some lawmakers also expressing surprise at the speed of this investigation and indictment. You'll keep note that Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner is a former state representative, yet many Republicans are casting a doubtful eye on her political motives in this investigation. And finally, the former state Republican chairman, John Hancock, told me on the phone a little while ago to remember that the last governor to be indicted was Rick Perry of Texas. And Hancock pointed out he's now the Secretary of Energy. Lots of reactions still coming in. We're monitoring it all. We're live in the newsroom. Matt Cesny, News 4.
News 4 investigates. Lauren Traeger first broke the story of allegations of blackmail against the governor.
She was just handed that report minutes ago. Lauren joins us live in our newsroom right now. Lauren?
Yeah, that's right, guys. I have the initial 20-so pages here of the report. I'm also combing through it online here. There are dozens and dozens of pages. But the important thing to note right off the bat is that it is signed by all of the lawmakers who were investigating in this committee. This is an executive summary of sorts. It kind of starts off with what their parameters were for their investigation. But sort of the big nuts and bolts that I'm getting out of it so far is that the committee did hear from 4 particular witnesses. Now, they are not named in this report. They are actually numbered, witnesses 1 through 4. Witness number 1, though, being the woman we believe to be the woman who had an extramarital affair with the governor. It mentions in here that she met him back in 2013 when she was cutting his hair, and then it starts to detail some of the initial encounters that they had with one another. Now, a really important note here is that the committee does state in their report that they find witness 1 to be credible. That is their wording there, that she is credible.
As we join you at 10, calls for Governor Eric Greitens to go are mounting from Democrats and Republicans.
Senator Claire McCaskill, Attorney General Josh Hawley, 2 of the latest saying a legislative investigation about his affair and possible blackmail unfitting for a governor. Good evening. I'm Emily Pritchard in for Courtney tonight.
And I'm Steve Savard. The report has multiple lawmakers calling for the governor to step down and could trigger the governor's impeachment.
Here are bullet points from that ongoing investigation. The mistress told lawmakers the governor did take a partially nude pic of her without her permission. She also says she felt coerced during a sexual encounter. The governor reiterating this was consensual and there was no violence or sexual assault.
News 4 has team coverage of the major developments tonight from St. Louis to Jefferson City. We begin with Matt Cesney reporting that lawmakers are saying this report should spur the governor's resignation.
Let me be very clear about this. This is not a witch hunt.
House Speaker Todd Richardson wasted no time or words in defending the committee investigating the governor, and he was quick to talk about his opinion of what was in the report about Greitens' extramarital affair and accusations of alleged blackmail.
The testimony outlined in the report is beyond disturbing.
It was horrifying. It was horrifying that anyone should have to go through something like that. And he clearly used his power to manipulate her.
Democratic leaders of the House held a separate briefing in the same packed corner of the House chamber. And using even stronger words, Democrats called for quick action.
It is clear to me that this governor must resign. And if he fails to do so, I believe we should begin impeachment proceedings.
Republican leaders stopped short of talking about impeachment, but the House Speaker did say he's keeping his options open, waiting for a recommendation from the committee and starting the process of calling a special session.
The committee has informed me that they have work remaining to do, and their initial charge was not to make a recommendation. That charge will expand. And they will have the opportunity to come back to the General Assembly with recommendations.
So the Special Investigative Committee will keep on meeting into next month. Any potential action from the House here, though, will be dictated by Republicans who hold a supermajority of the votes. At the state capitol in Jefferson City, Matt Cesney, News 4.
Lauren Traeger joins us now. And Lauren, the woman at the center of all of this, told the committee that some of her encounters with the governor were not entirely consensual.
Yeah, that's a really key point of this report. The committee provided a 24-page summary of their finding, as well as hundreds of more pages containing transcripts and exhibits, including from that woman. And while the governor has repeatedly said that the affair was consensual, the report outlines testimony from the woman indicating portions of their encounters were not consensual. The report outlines testimony from 4 witnesses. The governor did not testify, and the report makes it clear the governor did not comply with some of the committee's requests for information. Much of the report focuses on the woman named as Witness 1. The report says the committee found her credible. Specifically, it outlines several times during her initial sexual encounter with the governor in which she says it was not consensual. Regarding one act of sex, she testified, quote, "It's a hard question because I did it. It felt like consent, but no, I didn't want to do it." She further explained, "Coerced, maybe. I felt as though that would allow me to leave." Regarding what has become the center of the criminal case against the governor, whether he took a picture of her in a state of undress, she testified, quote, "Then I hear him kind of like step back, take a step back and I can hear like a cell phone, like a picture, and I can see a flash through the blindfold, unquote. She said she did not see a picture. At another point, the report says she testified to telling him, quote, I said, I'm really angry. I'm so angry. This is not at all what I wanted to do, Eric. And he said, I know. I just kept thinking about you. And I said, no, you took a freaking picture of me. My husband doesn't even have a picture of me, unquote. After which she says Greitens told her he had deleted the picture. The committee says they found no evidence the photo has been transmitted. There was also another allegation in the report that at another encounter, the governor hit the woman after he asked her if she had been intimate with anyone else. Witness 1 testified that she did not believe the slap was intended to physically hurt her. Instead, she said, I felt like he was trying to claim me. Now, there are a number of other details in this report, including that an attorney for the governor reached out to the woman's attorney after this story first broke, asking her what did she want out of all of this. But she said to the committee that she took it to mean that she want to fight this or fight their client on it. The committee also asked her if she'd been paid or compensated in any way. She said no. Her ex-husband, in his testimony in the report, said that someone had mentioned some money being put in his lawyer's trust fund, but then said afterwards he had not been paid. So again, a lot of small details in among some of the bigger ones here. Obviously, we've been combing through this throughout the night, and if anybody wants to take a look at this report, it is on our website, KMOV.com. A lot of graphic material, though, in there, so we do want to warn people about that before they go look at it.
All right, Lauren, a very detailed report.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
An hour before that report was posted online, Governor Greitens addressed the media and blasted the report, saying it is full of lies. News 4's Russell Kinsall now with the governor's aggressive defense.
Governor Eric Greitens walked out in front of a large crowd of reporters and cameras and denounced the report with a phrase he repeated several times.
Let's call this what it is. A political witch hunt.
Greitens admitted having an affair, but characterized it as a personal mistake.
But the people of Missouri see through this. And they know far better than to trust one-sided tabloid trash gossip that was produced in a secret report.
The governor criticized the special committee's process of meeting behind closed doors. He said no one cross-examined the witnesses and there were no consequences if witnesses lied.
This is exactly like what's happening with the witch hunts in Washington, D.C.
Greitens also complained there was no one there to represent him when the committee heard testimony, although he was invited to appear before it and declined. The governor said the public will hear the full set of facts at his trial next month.
In just 33 days, a court of law and a jury of my peers will let every person in Missouri know the truth and prove my innocence.
Greitens vowed to continue serving as governor of Missouri. At the Capitol, Russell Kinsall, News 4.
We sought legal perspective about today's report. Defense attorney Christy Flynn, a former prosecutor, focused on the woman using the word coerced in one of the sexual encounters at the governor's house.
She doesn't describe any force. She doesn't describe any weapons. However, she described something that she felt like she had to perform a sex act on him, so he would essentially leave her alone.
Flynn says she's never seen a case like this in which a critical piece of evidence, an alleged photo, is missing. Meanwhile, St. Louis University political science professor Ken Warren says today's report cripples Greitens' political career.
I think that his political future is bleak. There's no question that he was being groomed for a possible presidential run. He had it all going for him. And he threw it away with this. And you better believe, by the way, that the big outside money that backed him, they're angry.
A poll released before all this today found 48% of Missourians believe Governor Greitens needs to resign. The survey was conducted by conservative-leaning Mason-Dixon Polling, and you can see all those polling results on KMOV.com. Just a few minutes ago, we heard from Senator Roy Blunt. He told us the reports, the allegations are, quote, very concerning, and that the legislative investigation and legal trial are needed. We have called, emailed, and tweeted other Missouri Republican congressional leaders for comment tonight. So far, no response. And you can see other statements in our expanded coverage now on KMOV.com and on your KMOV app. We'll, of course, be covering all the developments on the story throughout the night, and we'll have the latest tomorrow on News 4 This Morning starting at 4 a.m.
The blowback from the Special House Committee's report on Governor Eric Greitens is far from over. Good evening, I'm Steve Savard.
And I'm Emily Pritchard. Courtney and Claire are off today. Tonight, Democrats want to stop sending bills to the governor's desk, and there's a new request to throw out the governor's criminal case.
Calls for him to resign are also growing. News 4's Matt Cesny spent the day talking to lawmakers in Jefferson City.
Nothing else to say? Lieutenant Governor Mike Parson brushed by our camera with nothing to say about Governor Greitens. Parson spent the day presiding over the state Senate, where anger seemed to be building over the governor.
My statement today was I'm worried, and I have come to the conclusion that his ability to lead is not going to be there.
Senate Majority Floor Leader Mike Kehoe became the highest-ranking Republican to call for the governor's resignation. Democrats were being even louder.
I mean, for crying out loud. He coerced a young woman. He slapped her. Do you want him leading your state? I don't want him leading my state.
The Senate leader, who may end up presiding over selecting judges for a Senate trial after impeachment, took to defending his House counterpart, Speaker Todd Richardson.
I mean, have you seen the guy? Have you guys seen the Speaker? I mean, this guy has lost 20 pounds. He's probably smoking 20 packs of cigarettes. And he's taken this job very serious. And I don't like the fact that some on the second floor have called this a witch hunt and impugning the integrity of these members.
There is also speculation here that Senate Democrats may now also try to hold up sending any bills for the governor to sign. Coming up at 6 o'clock, I tracked down some House members here today, some who wanted to talk about the governor and some who wanted no part of our camera. In Jefferson City, Matt Cesny, News 4.
Another high-profile lawmaker is calling for Governor Greitens to resign. Illinois Republican Governor Bruce Rauner said a resignation would be in the best interest of the state. He joins Missouri's Republican Attorney General Josh Hawley and Missouri Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill.
The investigation has brought forth some very disturbing, terrible behavior, apparently.
Now, we just moments ago, literally moments ago, got a press release from the Circuit Attorney's Office about this. It has very little information so far on here. I'm just reading through some of it, but they do say that because of the pending felony invasion of privacy case against the governor, they will not be commenting. They say they're not going to do a press conference or anything about this new charge. But as you may recall, of course, the governor is still facing a current pending felony for that invasion of privacy. That is in relation to the extramarital affair to which he has admitted. So this is now a separate felony charge that the governor is facing. Now, it's our understanding that the governor may be issued a summons to appear in court. That's a little bit different than an arrest warrant, so we're working on finding out exactly where the governor is right now and what might be happening next in all of this. But again, we just now are learning that the governor has been charged with another felony. This is felony tampering with a computer. In these documents, the governor's defense team is arguing no evidence of a felony charge of invasion of privacy was presented to the grand jury before it indicted.
A prominent figure in the Jason Stockley trial last year, First Assistant Circuit Attorney Robert Steele is also at the forefront in the pending trial against Governor Greitens. In a motion filed Monday, the governor's lawyers argue about the specific instructions Steele reportedly gave to the grand jury about the law. The motion reads, quote, "Those instructions are flagrantly misleading and instructed the grand jury to find probable cause for the violation of a statute for which they had no proper understanding," unquote. In court Monday, prosecutor Robert Durker told the judge that any suggestion of misleading jury instructions was, quote, "patently frivolous," unquote. The defense wants the judge to dismiss the charge, but if he doesn't, the defense is waiving the governor's right to a jury trial, citing concerns about finding jurors untainted by negative press. They say particularly communications made by the attorney for one of the witnesses, Al Watkins. He's spoken out numerous times on the case.
The governor's lawyers have also asked for the trial to be moved to the first week in April before a committee of lawmakers also investigating the governor delivers its findings. The prosecutor's office opposes changing the date of the trial. The defense has asked for hearings on these issues Wednesday and again on Monday. We'll let you know what the judge says. I'm Lauren Traeger, News 4.
Thanks, Steve. Tonight, we're getting a first look at what the defense team considers a critical image in the case against Governor Eric Greitens.
News 4 has obtained a screenshot of a videotaped interview of the woman at the center of the case. The defense says the photo proves an investigator hired by the circuit attorney's office in the case lied under oath.
That photo released as the judge is considering a new motion by the defense to dismiss that case. Our Lauren Traeger explains.
The photos provided to News 4 by the court show a sit-down interview in a hotel room weeks ago. The woman, who we've further concealed, is the one who claims Greitens took a partially nude photo of her without her consent. The man is William Tissaby. He was hired by Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner as a private investigator in the case. A former FBI agent, defense lawyers for Greitens have raised many questions about his qualifications and his methods. Specifically, Tissaby told the defense team he had taken absolutely no notes during his interview with the woman, but he can be seen here with paper and pen in hand. As we told you Thursday, the prosecution had originally told the defense that video had malfunctioned. Turns out it did work, and prosecutors turned it over this week. The defense says that is proof prosecutors committed misconduct and that Tissaby lied under oath. But prosecutors have argued against that, saying the defense is simply trying to distract from the case. The judge, Rex Burleson, considering whether or not to dismiss the case, and he did not rule on Friday.
We're not allowed to talk about it, I'm sorry.
The defense under a gag order in public, but in court continuing to raise questions about the fact this case was investigated by the Circuit Attorney's Office and not the St. Louis Police. News 4 Investigates asked Police Chief John Hayden about that today, who said again they were not asked to investigate.
No, we were, Kim Gardner called me and hypothetically asked me what if a certain thing happened. So she never asked me about or identified a victim. And so we still, no victim has ever contacted the St. Louis Police Department and said, talked about a crime where Governor Greitens was the suspect.
The prosecutor's office has said they've used private investigators in the past. Tissaby is still under a contract with the Circuit Attorney's Office, but a spokesperson says he is not actively involved in any investigation at this time. Lauren Traeger, News 4.
Matt Cesny at the Capitol tonight.
But we start here with our Lauren Traeger detailing information about mysterious payments sent to one of the lawyers connected to this case.
Yeah, that's right, Courtney. From the beginning of all this, one of the central figures has been Al Watkins. He's an attorney who represents the ex-husband of the woman at the center of the invasion of privacy allegations. Today, a judge in the case disqualified him from representing another key figure, a former FBI agent who helped investigate. But the biggest news we learned, Watkins says he has received anonymous cash payments to the tune of $100,000.
You've told us since, though, that you haven't been paid. So was that not truthful when you told us that before?
No, that was absolutely truthful, because I haven't been paid. My firm has been paid. And to be honest with you, I don't know who it's for. And more importantly, I'm trying to be as candid as I can.
Now, he says to date, his client has not been paid in all of this, but it was first brought up in court by the governor's defense team. Al Watkins today claims that 2 anonymous cash payments were dropped off at his office. The first came on the day in January his client did a sit-down interview with News 4, and the day after. Now, Watkins says he does not know where they came from, but said a phone call from an intermediary who he would not disclose said the money was to deal with the, quote, fallout from the story. He said he reported it to federal authorities. News 4 has reached out to those authorities but has not yet heard back. Now, the governor and his team have previously claimed that the ex-husband or Watkins were motivated to bring this story forward. News 4 has repeatedly asked whether or not Watkins or his client had been paid for the story even before it first aired. What have the offers been to say this would be?
I'm not at liberty to discuss offers, nor will I, because they're a work in progress.
Now, to date, Watkins says his client, the ex-husband, has not been paid at all. The governor's defense team is seeking Watkins' financial records, something Watkins told the judge today he planned to fight.
We're following major breaking news from downtown St. Louis this evening. The criminal case against Governor Eric Greitens suddenly dropped.
This is the invasion of privacy case surrounding the allegations of blackmail. Our team coverage live at 6 right now is from the Civil Courts building downtown and begins with our Lauren Traeger.
Yeah, guys, this was big developing news today, as most of the day we had expected the trial to be moving forward, jury selection going forward as planned. But late this afternoon, we did get this breaking development that the case would be dismissed against Missouri Governor Eric Greitens. Now, this comes down to a lot of the issues we have been reporting on over the past weeks and months, concerns raised repeatedly by the governor's defense team about an investigator hired by the prosecution on the case who ultimately took the fifth. We just learned that the defense team had intended to call the elected prosecutor, Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner herself, to the stand, and they were attempting to talk with her about her feelings when they say they learned that she too was going to take the fifth. That is when prosecutors say they felt that they had to dismiss the case. The defense team certainly very, very pleased with that outcome. And just a few moments ago, we also heard from Governor Eric Greitens. Take a listen to his full statement from the courthouse steps.
Today, the prosecutor has dropped the false charges against me. Now, this is a great victory, and it has been a long time coming. This experience has been humbling, and I have emerged from it a changed man. Thank you guys, and God bless you. And I'm going to be with my family right now, and look forward to following up with you guys.
And guys, we are joined now by one of the governor's defense attorneys, Jack Garvey. We're here live with Jack right now. So tell us, when did you first learn that this case would be dismissed, and what was the governor's reaction to that?
The way we learned it was the judge gave us the option of doing an offer of proof.
We had heard rumors about the governor resigning, but now we are actually getting confirmation from our sister station, KCTV, that in fact the governor is planning to announce his resignation here this afternoon at 4:15. As I mentioned, rumors had been swirling here for the last hour. It had been otherwise a relatively normal and quiet day here in the state capitol. The House Investigative Committee meeting in the basement in a hearing room.
I want to point out that Governor Eric Greitens walking to the podium.
Good afternoon. Today, I am announcing that I will resign as governor of Missouri, effective Friday, June 1st at 5 p.m. May God continue to bless you and to bless the great state of Missouri. Thank you.
Governor, did you take the photo? Governor, did you take the photo? Are you going to answer questions at any point?
Governor Eric Greitens announcing his resignation this afternoon. Just moments ago in Jefferson City, had a lot to say there, took no questions after making his announcements. Among the things he said that the investigations have been designed to create a strain on him and his family, referenced the pain it has caused himself and his family, his colleagues, he says, with no end in sight. He adamantly says, I have not broken any laws. Goes on to say, let the fairness of this process be judged by history.
Hear me all right?
Let history and God bring justice against those who have waged the attack.
Yeah, interesting to say before he said I have not broken any laws, he did admit, I know that I am not perfect. I know that my proceedings have not been perfect. An interesting word that he also used was this whole ordeal was designed to cause strain on his family and designed to cause damage to his family. He was very particular, Lauren, with the words that he used in that statement.
Yeah, I think there was certainly a little bit of a targeting towards perhaps the people who have been working for it, although he didn't name anyone specifically. He didn't mention any lawmakers or the House committee or anyone who may have been sort of pushing this forward in a way to kind of continue this exploration. But I certainly think that there was some language there of I'm not giving up the fight. He mentioned a battlefield for him, that he was going to continue to work for Missouri is what he said. And as you mentioned, Claire, he certainly said he has not broken any laws. He says he's not done anything of the offenses of which he's been accused. So it was certainly interesting language there. Did not really give a lot of insight as to why the particular timing now, except to say that people who've been supporting him, he feels have been harassed, was the word that he used there.
Matt Cesny took in the press conference. He is in the governor's office, just listening to the resignation from the Missouri governor. Matt, what struck you about what Eric Greitens had to say this afternoon?
Well, Steve, he was obviously very determined. It was a prepared remarks that he had, and obviously it seemed to be something that he had been working on today only, but he was very stoic, very firm. As you know, he does not hesitate at times to remind everyone about his history in the military with the Navy SEALs, and I think when he referenced himself holding his head high as he leaves here, he did try to hold on a brave face here, but you obviously know, looking at his eyes here, that this did pain him indeed. Many people here in the Capitol have told me that resigning and quitting is just not in his DNA, not in his nature, and so this was something that was very much against who he is, to actually take to the point now where he is stepping down from the office of governor.
All right, Matt Cesny reporting live for us from Jefferson City just moments after the governor issues his resignation effective Friday evening, June 1st. With us is Michael Wolff, Dean Emeritus of SLU Law School and former Supreme Court Justice. Thanks for coming in. Good to have you.
It's an auspicious day.
It is a different, surreal day here in Missouri. What strikes you about it?
Well, it's a process that the Constitution establishes.
Michael, we were talking about the process actually earlier today. You and I sat down for an interview as we were just talking about this process moving forward, specifically whether or not the governor himself would testify before that committee. Why do you think now? Why today, this big development?
I don't know. I think at some point, I take the governor at his word that this has been painful. But I think what he saw was a lot more pain coming. And pain in the form of not only him having to testify, but I think some of the people who supported him, donors that he's wanted to keep from public view, those might be disclosed. There might be other things that he just didn't want out there in the record. And I think at the end of the day, he may have seen that the result was going to be the same, that we'd go through a lot of pain and anguish, and 2, 3, 4 months down the road, we might have a removal from office, which obviously is a much more historic event than simply resigning.
Yeah, Steve, stunning announcement. In fact, one we did not anticipate when we first got to the Capitol here this morning at 10 o'clock for the start of the House Investigative Committee holding another day of hearings looking into the governor. But slowly throughout the course of the day, rumors started trickling around these hallways that in fact the governor was considering or even had decided at that point to announce his resignation. And it came at about 4:30 this afternoon, the governor announcing he was going to step down this Friday at 5 p.m. He mentioned the fact that the scandals and the allegations over the past several months have taken a toll on him and his family. Take a listen.
This ordeal has been designed to cause an incredible amount of strain on my family. Millions of dollars of mounting legal bills, endless personal attacks designed to cause maximum damage to family and friends.
Of course, the governor was fighting criminal charges in the city of St. Louis for some time, and then, of course, there is this ongoing House committee investigating him in the state capitol here today. I just got off the phone a few minutes ago with a Republican state representative here in the Capitol who told me that it was very likely, especially considering the alleged wrongdoings that were involving the Greitens campaign, that 4, 5, maybe even 6 articles of impeachment may have been coming down the road. So perhaps the governor was starting to see the writing on the wall here. Still, of course, though, he is a Navy SEAL and he's not declined to give up. He had said he wouldn't give up for months, but in fact, that's exactly what he did today. Reporting live in the state capitol, Matt Cesny, News 4, back to you.
Okay, Matt, in Jefferson City, Lauren Traeger joins us here in studio. You've been working the phones and your sources all afternoon, and I know the House leadership has issued a statement in the last few minutes.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I just got a text just a few moments ago, actually, from the spokesperson for Prosecutor Jean Peters Baker. She is in Jackson County, and she has been the special prosecutor in the criminal case moving forward. And he just texted me and said, our investigation continues. So that's an important point as we work forward on this. But I do want to read that statement that you mentioned there, Steve, from the House leadership. They said, we believe the governor has put the best interest of Missourians first today by choosing to resign. The past few months have been difficult for everyone involved, including the governor and his family. This is a serious and solemn occasion that reminds us that our state and our duty are bigger than any one person or party. Now, one of the big questions that we are continuing to ask at this very hour is why now? Why at this particular moment in time? Because the governor has been adamant over the past several months that he would not be resigning, that he was innocent of any of the charges. He's been very critical of the process, both at the criminal justice level and in the House, calling the actions there a political witch hunt. So we do not know at this particular time, because in his press conference, the governor did not answer questions about why, what at this moment in time motivated him to make this announcement today.
And he remains on the offensive even in his announcement of resignation, and said he has not broken any laws. But going back to the statement from Kansas City and the special prosecutor, I believe they have until June 11th to refile charges. Is that right? That's the date?
That is absolutely right. There's two sort of ongoing criminal aspects to this. There is the invasion of privacy investigation that is ongoing, and that's being conducted by the special prosecutor in the case now, Jean Peters Baker. That was the case that had originally been charged in the city of St. Louis, but prosecutor Kim Gardner dropped, but they have said they're going to continue that investigation. There's also still a pending felony charge for computer tampering that resides in the city of St. Louis. That was charged under Kim Gardner as well. Those are two very separate criminal issues that have been moving forward. So we are going to be working to see now what is going to happen with either of those, that ongoing investigation as well as that pending case. And we've kind of been discussing whether or not there may have been a deal of some kind worked out, or whether or not there will be some impact now that the governor has resigned to those criminal cases.
Some would say it was a huge victory just a few weeks ago when the criminal invasion of privacy case was thrown out. The governor standing on the steps of the courthouse there, being adamant about he's here for the people of Missouri. Over the weekend, you know, we didn't really hear much from him, had a few tweets, especially on Memorial Day. But a lot of people really a shock this afternoon.
Yeah, certainly the governor's defense team have been continuing their vigorous defense of the governor, both in the criminal justice system and at the House. I received a statement earlier today from Catherine Hanaway, who's a former U.S. attorney who represents some of the other folks who have been involved in this, including a New Missouri, which is one of those money PACs that have been talked about in this issue. And she said they were going to continue fighting. They were looking to see what their appellate process might be moving forward when a judge today ruled that the House could continue exploring that particular issue. So it did seem that they were planning on just forging ahead in the vigorous defense of the governor, as he said all along he wanted to do. So again, that question still remains. What was maybe the tipping point for the governor to make this decision today?
All right, Lauren, stand by. Chris Nagus has been following a reaction this afternoon on social media. Chris?
A lot of information, a lot of news on social media. Josh Hawley, the Missouri Attorney General, saying today the governor has done the right thing. I wish incoming Governor Mike Parson well and stand ready to assist him in his transition. Of course, we are talking about the lieutenant governor. This is the end of the Greitens administration, the beginning of the Parson administration. We know the lieutenant governor is now on his way back to Jefferson City. We expect to hear something from him around 6 o'clock. Typically, the job of lieutenant governor, it's a low-profile office. Usually, few people know much about the person who holds it.
Hello, I'm Mike Parson, Lieutenant Governor of the state of Missouri.
If you don't follow Lieutenant Governor Mike Parson on Facebook, you may have missed his New Year's greeting. He was elected to a big job with a relatively low profile.
Thank you, Springfield.
In November 2016, Mike Parson was elected the state's 47th Lieutenant Governor.
I just can't tell you how humbled I am to win a statewide office.
Prior to his swearing in, Parson was a state senator and a state rep. He comes from a law enforcement background and served as the Polk County Sheriff between 1993 and 2005. He lives 3.5 hours southwest of St. Louis in Bolivar, that's north of Springfield, where he operates a cow and calf operation, something he posts pictures of on Facebook. He's an advocate of Second Amendment rights and vocal about strengthening laws that protect farmers and ranchers. Parson beat out Russ Carnahan for the state's #2 job, and at the time spoke to News 4.
People are frustrated with government, especially on the federal level. And I think there was a loud message tonight. If you didn't get it, you better wake up.
Parson told News 4 he would focus on veterans issues, tourism, and agriculture after his election.
What a night!
And we really have not heard a lot from the Lieutenant Governor over the past several months. We will be hearing a lot more from him in the future. Again, expecting to hear something around 6 o'clock. And within the last 30 seconds, we just got this announcement from U.S. Senator Claire McCaskill saying, I wish Lieutenant Governor Parson the best. I look forward to working with him. Of course, we will continue to monitor reaction from elected officials. And once we get more information, we will bring it to you. Live in the newsroom, Chris Nagus, News 4.
It has been less than 24 hours since Missouri Governor Eric Greitens made his stunning announcement that he will resign on Friday. Today News 4 is following that story in Jefferson City as well as in downtown St. Louis. We do have team coverage for you with Lauren Traeger in downtown St. Louis and Justin Andrews in Jefferson City. We begin with Lauren Traeger with late news, Lauren, on the criminal computer tampering case against the governor.
Yeah, that's right, Claire. The circuit attorney making a big announcement here at the courthouse this morning, and with it, the governor no longer charged in any criminal case. Take a listen to the announcement.
After much conversation with Mr. Greitens' defense attorneys and my team, we have come to an agreement on the felony computer tampering case. I believe the most fair and just way to resolve this situation is to dismiss the computer tampering case.
The circuit attorney says she is confident there is evidence to pursue charges against Greitens, but says pursuing those charges is not the right or just thing to do for the city or the state. Greitens was charged with tampering with computer data after allegations he directed a former employee to take a donor list from the charity The Mission Continues and use it to fundraise for his campaign. Now, the circuit attorney says she considered the totality of the situation before dismissing the charge. Kim Gardner says she recognized the witnesses, including Greitens' former colleagues and friends who cooperated with the prosecution. She took no questions after her announcement today, but after it, her spokesperson says the governor's defense team approached them over the weekend about a deal. We caught up with one of the governor's lawyers today.
No, I'm not saying that resigning was the best thing, but if the governor was going to resign, the best thing for him was to make sure we could eliminate all these silly matters.
Now, this was an agreement, though, that the governor resign in exchange for these charges being dropped. And to be clear here, there are still two, at least, separate investigations still ongoing. A special prosecutor out of the Kansas City area is reviewing allegations involving the governor's extramarital affair. And St. Louis City Police are investigating allegations about the actions of an investigator hired by the prosecution here in St. Louis. So a few items do still remain, but overall, a very big resolution here today. The governor of the state of Missouri, once charged with two separate felonies, now not charged with anything at all. Live at the courthouse, Lauren Traeger, News 4.
In Jefferson City right now, we are told the governor is at work as he prepares to step down Friday evening. We continue our team coverage today with Justin Andrews, who has been in the state capitol since early this morning. Justin, what is it like there?
Well, it was a different feeling, Claire. I've been inside the State House quite a few times in my career, and I've never seen it so empty and heard it so quiet. My photographer and I, we were inside the State House early this morning. We noticed activity outside of the governor's office. We waited there for hours. Greitens' press secretary told me the governor would be there to do work, but we never saw the governor enter, likely because there's a special entrance from the elevator directly to his office. We spotted two women leave the governor's office carrying what appeared to be large picture frames. Other hallways were practically bare inside the State House. News 4 was looking for reaction from lawmakers, but after calls, emails, and a few pass-bys, most lawmakers were not there this morning. Even the cafeteria was empty, where there's usually some political chatter going on. This afternoon, some are asking what happens to Greitens' staff. Will they carry over to work for Parson? Well, one staff member told me he has, quote, no interest in doing that, but I've learned others will. We do know House lawmakers are expected to meet this afternoon. In fact, in less than an hour, my colleague Matt Cesney will have live coverage coming up on News 4 at 4. For now, we're live in Jefferson City. I'm Justin Andrews, News 4.
The clock is ticking on Governor Eric Greitens' final days in office.
In 48 hours, Lieutenant Governor Mike Parson takes over.
News 4's Matt Cesney, Parson's plan as the lieutenant governor prepares for the transfer of power.
Lauren Traeger is investigating the legal dealing to Eric Greitens' resignation.
And Chris Negus looks into whether Greitens will be eligible for a pension. We begin first at the state capitol with Matt Cesney. Matt, just 2 days until the big change.
Yeah, Courtney, you're right. Things are happening real fast here. Even at this hour, plans are still being discussed for the swearing-in ceremony of incoming Governor Mike Parson, which is happening on Friday.
We had a productive meeting with Lieutenant Governor Parson.
The scramble to work out details started early. House and Senate leaders meeting behind closed doors with the Lieutenant Governor. Privately, lawmakers say they expect a simple ceremony of swearing in Mike Parson as governor, simply because a somber mood still hangs over the Capitol after Eric Greitens said he's resigning.
It's not a happy time. It's not it's a time that we just need to move on, and we're going to try to help make that as easy as we can.
As plans were being made, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle started sizing up the new governor.
As Democrats, going to have a lot of policy differences with the incoming governor. We're going to battle him on those policy differences. That's what we were elected to do.
He used to be a legislator, and so I think he understands how you have to work with the legislature to pass your agenda. So I do anticipate it to be a little different going forward.
For one thing, this will happen fast, and leaders who had called for this to happen weeks ago now must be ready.
What we do know is that on Friday at 5 o'clock, we're going to have a transition of power here, and our focus is to help the Lieutenant Governor be ready, and I think he is.
And we expect final plans for Friday to be released either tonight or tomorrow. Both the House and Senate leaders say they have also asked Lieutenant Governor Parsons to address a joint session, and we're being told that is now scheduled for June 11th here in the state capitol. Live in Jefferson City, Matt Cesny, News 4.
At one point, the governor was charged with 2 felonies. At this point, he's not facing any charges.
The St. Louis Circuit Attorney announced today she's dismissing the computer tampering case against the governor.
Lauren Traeger is here in studio with us. And Lauren, this is being characterized as a win for both sides.
Yeah, that's right, you guys. Both sides saying they think this is the right outcome. In court documents, the prosecutor and the defense came to an agreement. The governor resigns and the charges get dismissed.
Now it's time for all of us to come together.
St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner did not take questions after announcing she would be dismissing the felony charge of computer tampering against Eric Greitens related to his charity. Just over 2 weeks ago, Gardner also dismissed a case of invasion of privacy in the midst of jury selection after learning she would have to provide testimony in the case due to the actions of the investigator she hired. The defense accusing him of perjury and rigorously criticizing the circuit attorney, echoing claims from the governor.
Let's call this what it is. A political witch hunt.
Gardner Wednesday dismissed such claims.
Quite the contrary. The consequences Mr. Greitens has suffered, he brought upon himself by his actions, his statements, his decisions, his ambition, and pursuit for power.
But experts we talked to say it was a win of sorts for both sides.
I think that there is a lot more going on in the dismissal of these charges than it just being the morally right or just thing to do.
Former prosecutor Christy Flint points to one part of the agreement. It says Greitens now releases the circuit attorney from any civil liability, basically saying he can't sue.
The bills for that would have been astronomical, just as what the governor was facing, and puts the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri into, yet another court battle that really has nothing to do with the everyday citizens trying to just, live their lives.
It's still unclear exactly why the governor decided to step down. What changed his mind? Why did he resign?
I can't speak for the governor. You're going to have to ask him questions as to what his thought process was.
But one of his defense attorneys told News 4 Wednesday he was glad for the dismissal.
If the governor was going to resign, the best thing for him was to make sure we could eliminate all these silly matters.
The circuit attorney says the cost of the criminal cases is within the department's current budget. We know they owe at least one expert $18,000 for his work in the invasion of privacy case. Now, right now, it's unclear if the circuit attorney will face additional monetary sanctions from the judge in that case. That's something, of course, we'll keep following.
Do we have any updates from the prosecutor in Kansas City about refiling the invasion of privacy charge?
Yeah, just this afternoon, I checked with a spokesperson for Gene Peters Baker, that prosecutor. They said that investigation is still ongoing and no deal has been made in that case, so we'll keep checking on that one, too.
All right, Lauren Traeger with us in studio tonight.
We will continue covering all of this, but with the governor's decision to call it quits, many questions have popped up. One, will Greitens be off the payroll for good once he's gone? After all, you've been paying his salary. News 4 investigator Chris Negus is getting answers.
Any elected official in Missouri that's impeached or removed from office for misconduct forfeits all rights to a taxpayer-funded pension. But in this case, the governor called it quits on his own. As we learned today, it doesn't matter. He's not getting a pension either way.
I am announcing that I will resign as governor of Missouri effective Friday, June 1st.
Like many Missouri state employees, Governor Eric Greitens was participating in a statewide public pension plan administered by Mosher's. But because the governor quit before serving a 4-year term, he will not receive a pension. But the governor was required to contribute 4% of his bi-monthly pay to the pension plan. He can request a full refund for what he's already paid in. According to Missouri records, Governor Greitens' most recent paycheck arrived on May 15th for a gross total of $5,575. The job pays $125,000 a year, which means the man who will replace Governor Greitens, Mike Parson, will be in store for a significant pay raise. The lieutenant governor's current salary is $80,838 a year. State employees also earn sick time. I've asked the Office of Administration if Governor Greitens will get paid out for unused sick days before he leaves on Friday. I have not received an answer yet. Chris Negus, News 4.
This is News 4 at 5.
Governor Eric Greitens has submitted his official letter of resignation. It takes effect in just a few minutes, right at 5 o'clock.
Moving trucks were at the governor's mansion this morning. Before stepping aside, the governor put in a full day of work, signing bills, commuting sentences, and issuing pardons. About an hour ago, Lieutenant Governor Mike Parson participated in a prayer service at the First Baptist Church in Jefferson City. He'll be sworn in as the 57th governor of Missouri in a half hour.
News 4 has multiple crews covering that transition of power in Jefferson City.
News 4's Matt Cesny is live outside the governor's office where Parson will take the oath of office. Matt?
Steve, Lieutenant Governor's staff tells me they expect to take control of this governor's office at 5:01 today, and that's when we expect these doors to open so we can go in and begin setting up for the swearing-in ceremony. Outside of that prayer service this afternoon, the Lieutenant Governor spent all day here in the state capitol in his office on this second-floor hallway.
Everybody. Hi, good afternoon.
Attorney General Josh Hawley was just one of the many well-wishers to visit Lieutenant Governor Mike Parson in his office.
And I just want to say that I think that the incoming governor is prepared. I was extremely impressed with the work that he has done in 48 hours. It's really remarkable, and he is ready to take office.
There's not a big celebratory mood here.
Meanwhile, Republicans and Democrats are trying to get up to speed with the new incoming governor, who has been busy meeting lawmakers and staff in state agencies.
Everyone I know here who served with him in the Senate and the House says that he's an honorable person, which I think is very important at a time like this. You want someone you can trust ethically and someone who knows about the business of state government.
Well, I will tell you he has already reached out, which is a unique situation.
The Democratic House Minority Leader says she plans to talk with the conservative Republican.
I recognize that policy-wise we are, we're on opposite sides, but that doesn't mean that, you don't have conversations.
All right, Mike Parson set to be sworn in as the next governor of Missouri at 5:30 this afternoon here inside the governor's office. We will carry it live on KMOV's Facebook page and also on KMOV.com. And our coverage from the Capitol will continue on News 4 at 6 o'clock. We're live inside the Capitol in Jefferson City. Matt Cesny, News 4.
Mike Parson has had just 2 days to prepare for his transition to governor, and as he headed out from his office with his wife this afternoon, she said it's been a whirlwind.
It's been nonstop. We haven't slept much. We've been going, and Mike's been working and having meetings every day. And
Teresa Parson told reporters she spoke with Eric Greitens' wife, Sheena, who told her she was about to be moved out of the governor's mansion.
The Parsons expect to move in tomorrow. Now, before leaving office today, Eric Greitens signed 77 bills into law, and among them a new law that will make it a felony to share sexual pictures of someone without their consent. It's sometimes referred to as revenge porn. That bill was proposed before news of Greitens' affair broke and before he was charged with an invasion of privacy over an alleged photo. Greitens also freed and pardoned several convicted criminals. News 4's Chris Nagus will have more on that tonight on News 4 at 6.
There are several ongoing issues surrounding the outgoing governor. A special prosecutor continues to investigate the invasion of privacy charge surrounding his extramarital affair. And a lawsuit regarding the use of a text message deleting app by Greitens and his current and former staff also moves forward. Today, a judge also ruled that he will have a hearing next week to address whether the organization Anew Missouri will have to disclose donor information related to the governor's campaign. Coming up in 5 minutes, News 4 takes a closer look at the rise and fall of Governor Eric Greitens from before he launched his campaign to become governor to his resignation today following the investigations. That's coming up in 5 minutes.
Eric Greitens, as you know, no longer governor, but even before he won an election, he was making headlines.
I knew when I got into this that the politicians would throw slime.
That was during Kmov's debate between the four candidates seeking the GOP nomination for governor back in 2016. But Greitens' time in the national spotlight actually started a decade before that campaign even started.
Well, I'm no career politician. I'm a Navy SEAL, and I'll take dead aim at politics as usual. I'm Eric Greitens. If you're ready for a conservative outsider, I'm ready to fire away.
That was the ad that first brought the media spotlight on Eric Greitens in his run for governor in the summer of 2016. But that was not his first time to shine in the public eye.
Program. Eric Greitens, sir!
In 2015, he made the rounds on talk shows like The Daily Show and The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
Now, Eric, you are a former Rhodes Scholar, Navy SEAL, writer, photographer, and the CEO of Mission Continues.
Greitens founded the Mission Continues in 2007 after returning from service in Iraq. His work with the Mission Continues garnered national attention, even being honored by President George W. Bush in 2008. Fast forward 8 years.
Are you ready for a new generation of conservative leadership?
He won the Republican primary on August 2nd, 2016.
Are you ready to put an end to corruption in Jefferson City once and for all?
2 months after that, he won the governor's race on November 8th, 2016. And on January 8th, 2017, he was sworn into office.
No one imagines that all of these battles will be won overnight, over 4 years, or even 8. But we begin today.
At 7 p.m. on January 10th, 2018, Governor Greitens gave his second State of the State. Shortly after 9 p.m. that same night, he sent News 4 a statement admitting to the affair. At 10 p.m. that night, News 4 Investigates broke the story, including the alleged blackmail. Shortly after that, the governor denied the blackmail allegations.
There was no blackmail. There was no violence. There was no photograph for blackmail. There was no threat of using a photograph for blackmail.
But the following day, January 11th, the St. Louis Circuit Attorney launched a criminal investigation into the accusations. Then on February 22nd, the governor was indicted on a felony invasion of privacy charge. On Monday, February 26th, the committee was formed in Jefferson City to investigate the allegations in the indictment.
This committee's task is going to be to investigate facts.
On April 24th, Kim Gardner announced she was charging the governor with felony computer tampering for alleged misuse of a donor list from his veterans charity, The Mission Continues. On May 14th, the governor claimed victory when Circuit Attorney Gardner dismissed the invasion of privacy charges. And on Tuesday, as the Special Investigative Committee also continued their investigation, the governor announced his resignation.
Today, I am announcing that I will resign as governor of Missouri